Hi there, it's Carolyn. I wanted to quickly show the difference between the privacy settings on the Claude Teams version and the Claude Personal version, or personal or consumer version. So first I'm going to go into the settings for my personal version. I'm going to click on personal, and then over here down the corner to check the privacy, you're going to go to settings. And what it's going to bring up is these settings here, and you see under the personal subscription or the pro plan or the consumer plan, whatever they're calling it, you have an option for privacy. So I'm going to click on privacy, and again, the feature you want to pay the most attention to is the help improve Claude. You want to make sure that that is off. When help improve Claude is off, that means that you've got the training turned off. And that's what you want to do at a minimum, at a very bare minimum, if you're using it for legal research. Now another thing you can do if you have concerns about confidentiality is you can also go to manage memory. And what you can do is, for example, over here, generate memory from chat history. You can turn that off and even turn off the memory of chat history. So that minimizes the amount of memory that Claude is getting from chat. Now, unfortunately, when you turn off memory, you're also going to have less context for subsequent searches. So again, that's why if you're using this for legal work and you want to input confidential client information, you're really better off going with the Teams or Enterprise version or some kind of business version that builds in the confidentiality protections contractually. Now I'm going to show you how the settings for the Pro or Consumer plan differ from what you would get if you have a Teams plan. So let me go over to my Teams account. So now I'm here in my Teams account, and you see that under settings, I don't have a privacy option at all. And that's because the privacy settings are predetermined by the contract, the data processing agreement, which states that Claude will not use my account for any type of trainings. I have general, I have account information, and this shows my team here. I have usage and I have capabilities. Capabilities is the closest thing that gives me an option or control over data, and here I have options and control over memory. And the reason for that, the reason you don't have the privacy setting is because it's predetermined by the terms and conditions of the contract that you have. And so that's the way to tell that you're using the proper account. If you have an option for privacy, you're most likely using a consumer or pro account. And again, if you're going to be putting confidential client data into that, you may want to reconsider that. And finally, we're going to look at co-work. Whoops. Now you may be wondering what happens if you have co-work. So let's open up co-work. Here's my co-work account. The co-work accounts are derivative of the main account that you have. So I opened up my co-work account under my Teams account, and so the privacy protection of Teams transfer over to co-work. If you open up a co-work account under the Pro or Consumer account, and that's only something that's very recently become a development. Initially, you had to have some sort of business account to do co-work. Now it's available in the consumer accounts. But if you open it up under the consumer account, you're going to have to keep in mind that you need to turn off training. Just because the files are available locally doesn't mean that they're exempt from training. When Claude processes the files, it takes them from your machine and brings them into its processing and processes them, and then they get returned back to your local folders. So if you're using Claude Cowork, don't assume that because Claude is working on your local files that you have additional privacy protections. The privacy protections you have are derivative of the plan that you have. And just to show you, these are all of the local folders that Claude has access to on my local machine. And I've set up a special Claude folder to give it access, but it has access. These are all local folders that Claude can go into directly from this machine. So to recap, if you're using the Claude personal or consumer level version, you will see under settings an option for turning off training under privacy. If you're using a Teams account, you won't have that option because privacy settings are the default. The non-training is the default, so you won't have the option to turn it on or off. And if you're using Claude Cowork, the privacy settings are going to be derivative of the main account that you have. If you're going to be inputting confidential client information, so financial statements and similar data, you're probably best off using a business account just for safety purposes. If you're using it for general research, or if you're willing to anonymize the data that you send into the system, then a consumer or pro account with training turned off may suffice. Hope this was helpful.